So, the play within a play has ended, and Hamlet is headed to his mother's bedroom. But before he gets to his mother's bedroom to be confronted by her about his misbehavior in front of the whole court, Hamlet has to have a little adventure. He's walking toward his mother's bedroom, and he passes by the chapel, and there, what does he see but Claudius praying? This is the scene that I call Claudius's not prayer. It's an interesting scene because, as we noticed earlier in Act 3, Claudius is not a one-dimensional villain who just sneers and laughs and enjoys his evil. Instead, he feels really guilty about it. The king has actually been very convicted by watching the image of his murder on stage, and he is wanting to pray because he feels really sick in his soul. He's personally convicted, but he's also politically humiliated. And he's worried that things are getting out of control and that Hamlet's plotting against his life. And he is angry, and he sort of takes it out on Rosencrantz and Guildenstern a little bit. And before he gives into his not prayer, he asks them, or commands them actually, that they are going to take Hamlet to England. They sort of pet him and try to assure him that everything's going to be okay. And Polonius comes in to remind him that Hamlet's going to talk to the queen and that he will be overhearing them and will report back what happened. But as we'll see, that's not what's going to happen. So again, Claudius is not a one-dimensional villain. He is racked with guilt. We saw this earlier when he had the quote, "Oh, heavy burden," and we saw his reaction to the crime. And now we have a whole prayer, a soliloquy to some extent because he's alone on stage, where he laments his sin. I call this a not prayer, and Claudius kind of calls it that too, because he wants forgiveness of the sin, but he's not truly repentant. To be truly repentant of sin, you have to first be sorry for what you've done, and Claudius meets that criteria. 2, confess it. He kind of does that, but he's only confessing it privately. It's not in public. And 3, penance, repairing your wrong. That means making up for the thing that you did. Claudius is not truly repentant, or he can't truly accomplish forgiveness because he fails in criterion 3. He will not repair his wrong. That would mean confessing his murder publicly, paying the price for that crime, and giving up the queen and his crown, and all the glories and money that accompany that. And he's just not willing to do that. It's hard to say, it depends on the actor and on the interpretation of the reader. Is Claudius more motivated by his love for Gertrude, or for his desire for power, or jealousy for his brother? There can be all sorts of things that are mixed up together, and it depends on the performance for how that goes. But we do know that Claudius is risking going to hell because of his lack of repentance, and he feels very agonized about this. It's interesting because this is not necessary, is it? Like, we could make Claudius a one-dimensional villain, but Shakespeare's more interesting than that, and kind of makes us almost sympathize with him. I want you to go back to Act 1, where Claudius was establishing his reign and announcing his marriage to Gertrude and handling the Fortinbras threat with those long and jammed rolled lines that were endless. He was in control. Well, Claudius is out of control here. His lines start falling apart. It starts to resemble Hamlet's first soliloquy. It's fragmented, self-questioning, outburst, exclamations. He's no longer thinking in long, rational sentences. His emotions are getting the best of him. Excuse me. So the first line of the soliloquy, right, is, "Oh, my offense is rank. It smells to heaven." And we've noticed that rank is an important word in this play because it means rottenness. And Claudius realizes that what he's done is, in some ways, the ultimate primal sin, right? A brother's murder. And we go back to that idea of the Garden of Eden, the fall of innocence, and Cain and Abel. "Oh, my offense is rank. It has it smells to heaven. It hath the primal eldest curse upon it, a brother's murder." And so Claudius is realizing that he is one of the worst murderers, the mark of Cain being the punishment for Cain for murdering Abel. In a weird way, Claudius is kind of a funhouse mirror, or a dark mirror, of Hamlet here, because he's trapped in the throes of indecision and inaction, just as Hamlet has been, most famously in his to be or not to be speech. He wants to do something, but can't do it. And he questions himself the same way Hamlet questions himself and everybody else. Can you be pardoned and retain the offense? And the answer is no, in thunder, but he wants to do that. He recognizes that in this world, offense or evil can slip by with gilded hands. If you've got the money, you can get away with everything. You can deceive, but it's not that way in heaven. There is no shuffling there. And that really scares Claudius because he's able to manipulate appearance and reality while he's on earth, but there the action lies in his true nature. So by the time he realizes this, he's kind of moved nowhere. He degenerates into crying out short questions, berates himself, hates the sin, hates his weakness, but he tries to still, keep going. He says, all may be well, and he begins praying. And as he's praying with his eyes shut, Hamlet enters. And this is the perfect opportunity. Hamlet already told us that he could drink hot blood. He's ready to kill, but true to Hamlet's character, he thinks ahead before he kills. He says, now he's praying, now I'll do it. And so he goes to heaven, and so am I revenged. Wait, that would be scanned. As we've said before, some people see this as Hamlet's flaw, that he thinks too much or that he can't make up his mind. But it also prevents him from making a mistake, right? Hamlet reasons it out. If Claudius is praying and is cleansed of his sin, then he will go to heaven. Whereas contrast that with Hamlet's father, who was killed while he still had sins on his conscience and now is burning in some sort of purgatorial prison house, a wheel of fire, until his sins are burnt and purged away. Hamlet sees that this is not an equating of the scale. And so Hamlet, in what might be his darkest moment in the play, decides that in order to get true revenge and equate the scale, he needs to kill Claudius when he's doing something evil so that Claudius will go to hell. And there's really nothing less Christian than that, desiring the damnation of another soul. But he says, that's what I'll do. I'll wait until he's doing something that has no relish of salvation in him. And then I'll send him straight to hell. But it's a mistake, of course. And we know this through dramatic irony. Hamlet is mistaking an appearance for reality. Claudius looks like he's praying, and Hamlet takes it to be that he really is praying, and therefore he's going to go to heaven. But as Hamlet leaves, Claudius says, my words fly up, my thoughts remain below. Words without thoughts never to heaven go. And Hamlet has made a mistake, a fatal one in some ways, as we'll see. And he continues to head to his mother, which is the last scene of Act 3, very famously called the closet scene, which means bedroom.